Hello, welcome to the Who is Jesus series. I'm Charlotte, and I'm happy to be on a biblical journey of encouragement for women to find out more about who Jesus is. And we are going to continue and go into the book of Matthew, chapter 18. And what we're going to see in this chapter is that Jesus is dealing with a false concept of greatness or importance by giving his disciples a picture to remember and a point to take to heart. Let's take Matthew chapter 18, verses 1 to 6. At the same time came the disciples unto Jesus, saying, Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus called a little child unto him, and set him in the midst of them, and said, Verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoso shall receive one such little child in my name receiveth me. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. As we've been seeing in God's kingdom, faith and trust is high on his priority list. And, with little children, there is a faith and trust that they exhibit that is the same kind of faith and trust that God desires for everyone, no matter what their age. And I had to look up the word offense because for this study, I was thinking about that word offense, how I understand it myself. And I thought, it might not quite uh, be the same meaning as how I think. So I better check this out. And so I did. And the word offense, to me, I thought it means, I'm hurt or angry or upset by something that someone has said or done to me, done wrongly and everything. But I found out that this can also mean that it is something that causes to sin. So God never wants anyone who trusts in him to be led into sin by someone else. And, it seems to me that people who have childlike faith in God are just targets of cruel people who want to drag them away and into the same kind of filth that they're living in. It's like they can't have innocence around them. They can't have faith and trust around them. It upsets them and it makes them think, I'm just going to pull you into this sinful stuff that I'm doing too. And then you'll be like me. Then I won't be as convicted by you representing godliness around me. Now, what Jesus is showing us through this is what God's judgment will be on anyone who purposefully causes his children to sin. This is serious business. So let's see more about what his attitude towards sin is in verse 7 and 8. Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come. But woe to that man by whom the offense cometh. Wherefore, if thy hand or thy foot offend thee, cut them off, and cast them from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life halt or maimed, rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet to be cast into everlasting fire. And if thine eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life with 1 eye, rather than having 2 eyes to be cast into hellfire. This is an extremely graphic example of what our attitude towards sin should be. This is what he's teaching to help us to see how serious sin is and how we should want to avoid it so much. He's suggesting going so far as to cut off your hand or your foot or pluck out your eye if this is what has caused you to sin. This is very strong language, but it needs to be clear to us how much God hates sin. It's not a light matter. So let's continue on in verses 10 through 14. Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones. For I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father, which is in heaven. For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost. How think ye, if a man have 100 sheep, and one of them be gone astray, doth he not leave the 99 and goeth into the mountains and seeketh that which is gone astray? And if so be that he find it, verily I say unto you, he rejoiceth more of that sheep than of the 99 which went not astray. Even so, it is not the will of your Father which is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish. So, if we remember that at the beginning of this chapter, as I started reading, Jesus said that children are the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, the childlike, those that have simple faith and trust in him. So when he says not to despise them, the word despise is a strong word that speaks of contempt, to scorn, to have the lowest opinion of. I can't imagine despising a child. But again, the religion of Jesus' day and the attitude of our society today is an attitude of despising those who simply live by faith in God and in his word. What Jesus is doing here with his example of a lost sheep is again reflecting compassion, the compassion of God towards people. If there's a sheep that has gotten away from the flock, then a shepherd would naturally go after that sheep to bring it back. So how much more do we see a picture of God through what Jesus has just spoken, that we can see that God is going to draw a lost person back to himself. So I want to thank you again for your time and attention. God bless you, and there's more coming.